balloons, bazookas, boobies, bosoms, boulders, cans, hooters, knockers, melons, honkers, jugs, rack, tatas, tits, torpedoes, guns, bust, doorknobs, coconuts, and our favorite one, the girls. Welcome to the All About Breastfeeding show, where your host, Lori, highlights mothers just like yourself and goes beyond the surface questions and digs deep so they share not only their joys and happiness in their daily breastfeeding life, but also their pain and struggles and how they worked through them.
Episode number 110. Welcome to All About Breastfeeding, the place where the girls hang out. I am your host, Lori Jill Eisenstadt, IBCLC, which stands for International Board Certified Lactation Consultant, and my specialty is helping moms with breastfeeding. If you have not been on my website yet, wait until after this show is over and then head on over to allaboutbreastfeeding.biz. One of the first things you will notice is an invite to get my free tips on how to go about pumping and storing your milk. When I was pregnant for the first time, I really looked forward to being a new mom and spending lots of time with my newborn. When that time came and I was alone with her day after day after very long days, I realized that I was missing something. I denied it for a bit. I didn't allow myself to even say it out loud, that while I was really happy being a mom, it wasn't enough. I was desperate to meet other new moms and talk to them about all the changes going on in my life since becoming a mother. To admit this made me feel guilty, as if I was not a good mother. I denied those feelings way too long because after a while, I actually started to become unhappy. You can go back to episode number 9, where I talk in detail about my feelings about being a new mom and needing to have friends. I talk about how joining a mom's group was a total lifesaver for me, as I do not know what I would have done had I not met and bonded with other mothers over our shared experiences of new motherhood. Based on my personal experience, I became a facilitator, and I have since facilitated hundreds of new mothers groups. We live in such a virtual world, and my listenership is global. You are looking to get to really know other moms, spend quality time with them, and know that you have a safe place to share some of your deepest thoughts of motherhood without being judged or made to feel guilty. You're looking for a place to ask questions about your day-to-day mothering and breastfeeding life. The All About Breastfeeding Mothers Group is now forming. I have given you a snippet about what this group is all about. Head on over to allaboutbreastfeeding.biz/support for details about the November group that is forming. Don't procrastinate. I want moms to really get to know each other, and I'm purposely keeping the group to just 10 moms, and they will fill up quickly. Now, on to today's show. Let's get started. Today's show starts with an inspirational quote. You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. C.S. Lewis. This show today is the third in a series of 12 shows in which I answer your most frequently asked questions. And today the question is, how do the breasts make milk? Pregnancy is considered to be the period of the most extensive and rapid growth of the mammary gland. Changes occur the fastest during the later states of pregnancy, which also coincides with the most rapid period of fetal growth. Breast changes are one of the earliest signs of pregnancy. The areolas, which are the dark areas of skin that surround the nipples, they begin to swell, followed by the rapid swelling of the breasts themselves. Many pregnant women experience tenderness down the sides of the breasts and tingling or soreness of the nipples. This is because the growth of the milk duct system and the formation of many more lobules. Before I became pregnant the first time, I had no idea of the science behind this. I had no idea that hormones were responsible for these breast changes. With my first baby, I just knew that my nipples were incredibly sore. I never really paid them much attention up to this point, but all of a sudden my attention was drawn to my nipples a lot during the first trimester. Because they were so sore, I naturally looked at them more, which I had not really spent much time doing before. They were getting darker and they were sticking out more, all to prepare for breastfeeding. How cool is that? Thank goodness the worst was in the first trimester and it all but disappeared in the third trimester. The funny thing is, though, with each of my other pregnancies, I did not need any tests to tell me I was pregnant. Each time there was this significant, what seemed like overnight change, which probably was gradual, but at some point in the first 6 weeks, all of a sudden I was distracted, thinking of my nipples again. Sore nipples equal pregnancy to me. By the 5th or 6th month, the 20th to the 24th week of pregnancy, the breasts are fully capable of producing milk. Many things are going on in your lovely mammary glands. Hormones are controlling the growth of the ducts and the glandular tissue. The prominence of the blood vessels in the breast and the enlargement and darkening of the areola are happening. All these changes are in preparation for breastfeeding your baby. Your body does not discriminate. It just prepares to make milk. It does not know whether you are going to breastfeed or not, whether you are going to give birth prematurely or have a full-term baby, whether you are birthing a baby who has special needs or birthing a baby you are going to have adopted, or giving birth to twins. Your body is growing a baby and it is preparing to feed your baby. Some fun facts. With all of these changes in growth, your breast can increase up to almost a pound during pregnancy. Blood flow to the breast can double during pregnancy. Increase in size during pregnancy. Areola will darken during pregnancy. The skin surrounding your breasts will seem thinner, and you may notice that the veins will be much more noticeable. The Montgomery glands, which are those tiny little bumps on the areola that secrete natural oils to lubricate the area and help to prevent bacteria from breeding, will become larger and more noticeable. Your nipples will become more pronounced. The ductal system expands and branches out under the influence of the hormone estrogen. Progesterone helps to increase the size of the lobes and lobules, which is like the branching network of the internal structure of the breast. Each breast has many lobules, could be up to 20, and they end in the nipple. Many hormones are at work changing the inner workings of the breast tissue. Also during this time, lymphocytes, plasma cells, and eosinophils, which are all white blood cells, these are all gradually introduced into the small, narrow space between the tissue of the breast. To drill it down even further, the lymphocytes, which are white blood cells that protect against disease and infection, the plasma cells are white blood cells that secrete large volumes of antibodies, and the eosinophils are white blood cells that fight against parasites and are gradually introduced into the small, narrow spaces between the tissue of the breast. I highlight this because can you believe all the changes that are going on in the breast tissue? And this is all in the first trimester. Can you begin to see why I get so excited? Just wait until you learn what is happening in the second trimester. This is when there's such a continued fascinating things all happening behind the scenes. There is more development and enlargement of the ductal system and additional growth of the lobules. Some people think you don't start making food or milk for your baby until your baby is born or right before. Guess what? The breasts are busy making milk from the 3rd month on. The lovely hormone called prolactin triggers the production of colostrum, which is your baby's first food. In your last trimester, there is even more growth and development of ducts, which is happening just when you're walking around and not paying attention to anything. All this is going on. You now have secretory cells, which produce and secrete or release breast milk. How incredibly exciting is all this that it's happening, all while you're just going on your merry way. Each and every day, just doing your thing, and look at the busyness that's going on in your breasts. I find this fascinating, and I hope you do too. And the finale? Well, it is really just the beginning. But I like to call it the finale, because the birth of your baby signals the end of all the crazy good stuff that goes on during pregnancy, and you are now entering a new phase of lactation. After the birth of your baby and the amazing placenta, further shifting of the hormones are happening, and the two most critical hormones in milk production, which are prolactin and oxytocin, are busy at work. Do you want to be further wowed by this amazing fluid? Do you know that human milk is a living fluid? It is a secretion of the mammary gland, and it is constantly changing its composition, dependent on the interaction with the baby. And what is it made up of? Hundreds and hundreds of ingredients that fall into the following categories. The first thing is to know that breast milk is about 90% water, which is exactly why you may have heard that breastfed babies do not need to be given any water, as they are already getting plenty from you. Other great stuff: nutrient proteins, lipids, sugars, vitamins, minerals, hormones, enzymes, growth factors, and protective agents. This is an ever-changing fluid that is changed by the stage of lactation, how old the baby is, the sex of the baby, the timing of the feeding, and your baby's feeding patterns. One of my educators years ago said something that has always stuck with me. She said, formula has, by and large, the same 40 to 45 ingredients in the package. It can stay in that package for up to a whole year on the shelf. And throughout the very first feeding after birth until the very last feeding at the end of their first year, the ingredients all stay the same for every single feeding. While I always knew that the milk was great stuff, I had not yet, up until the moment that my mentor taught me about the ingredients, I never really took the time to contemplate the beauty and the wonder of human milk, that it has several hundred ingredients, and every feeding the baby has these nutrients. These ingredients are changing from one feeding to the next, and even in the middle of the feedings. There's more protein at times and water and sugars during some feedings and less during other feedings. Call me crazy, but this lactation consultant is just blown away by this information. Now, this is a simple version of what is in breast milk. Check out the link that is in the show notes that gives you a list of all the ingredients in breast milk, and be prepared to be amazed. There is so much more to know about human milk. We're going to find that there's thousands of ingredients literally to human milk. I don't want to overwhelm you with the information, but I find it hard to just stop right there. Just when you give birth and the whole milk-making system continues to go through some dramatic changes, can I have just a few more minutes of your attention so I can tell you a few more amazing things? Great, here we go. During pregnancy and the first few days of postpartum, milk supply is hormonally driven. This is called the endocrine control system. No matter what you do, your hormones are in charge of milk making. The first phase in making milk is something called Lacto Genesis 1, and this happens halfway through your pregnancy when you start making colostrum, the early milk. Ever wonder why you are not making large volumes of milk during pregnancy? Sure, you might experience some leaking, but the volume is still quite low. The high levels of progesterone needed during pregnancy inhibit the milk secretion to keep the volume down. Now, the second phase in making milk is called Lacto Genesis 2, which happens right after the birth with the abrupt hormonal shift once the baby is born and the placenta is out. Now, the delivery of the placenta results in a sudden drop in a combination of the progesterone and estrogen and something called HPL levels. These changes in the presence of a high prolactin level now set the stage for copious milk production. Within 2 to 4 days, moms have a sense of increased breastfulness. Now, what is so amazing about this is, again, your body is doing this all on your own just while you're going along your merry way. Very quickly, you move into the next phase, which is called, guess what? Lacto Genesis 3. Now, this is a very interesting phase because it is now as if a switch has been turned, and that switch is from a mother-driven milk supply to a baby-driven milk supply. This means that the supply will not increase all on its own. The breasts need a lot of activity, meaning frequent and efficient milk removal. So it gets a strong message that you have a baby to feed. The more frequent the milk is removed, the more milk you make. Now the name of the game in the milk making department is to understand that your supply is very dependent on the frequency and efficiency of the milk removal. Your baby's tummy is very small, about the size of a small marble. Their tummy can only hold so much, which sends them back to the breast frequently. A baby that has an excellent latch and who comes to the breast for excellent feedings 7 to 9 times a day will help you increase your supply to meet their needs. You will often hear me say this: information is powerful, especially in new parenthood. I hope that learning how the breasts make milk and how the breast increases supply to meet your baby's needs helps you out in the first few weeks of your baby's life. Newborns nurse very frequently, and it can be quite exhausting. Having knowledge that frequent feedings are incredibly important to building a good supply, and that this is very normal, will help you, just like most mothers, get through the fatigue of the first few weeks. This helps you to understand that if you are skipping feedings at night because you want to get more rest and you are not removing the milk, you may struggle with building a supply to meet your baby's needs. There are ways to help you deal with this time period as you prepare for the birth of your baby. To help you with the preparation for the first few months postpartum, just check out the show notes for episode number 9, and you can grab this handout. A few last pieces of information to know. Despite all their best efforts, some moms, they just struggle with supply. There are some very real factors that put you at risk for not making enough milk. This is what we will be talking about on next week's FAQ number 4. We're going to be talking about breast surgery, any kind, implants, biopsies, breast reduction, abscesses. We're also going to be talking about retained placenta. This means that you have higher levels of certain hormones, and that will inhibit your milk supply. We're going to talk about Sheehan syndrome or pituitary shock. Frequently, this causes a low milk supply. We're also going to be talking about hormonal imbalance. Thyroid is a common one. Hormonal contraception, Birth control pills and IUDs can make milk production hard for some mothers. We're also going to talk about insufficient glandular tissue and how this might make it difficult for you to make enough milk. You are also going to struggle to make enough milk if your baby is not feeding efficiently. So we need for them to feed frequently and efficiently. If they don't have the best of latch, this can greatly affect milk transfer, which means they're not removing the milk efficiently, which will mean your baby probably won't gain as they should, and it's not sending a strong signal to your body to make more milk. Now maybe you're understanding a little bit more when I talk about I really want your babies to have the best latch possible in the early days, because it's the feeding frequency and efficiency which will really help to drive up your milk volume. You can begin to understand my intense pushiness to get help from an IBCLC early on. If you feel you are at risk or are struggling with supply the first few days, then it means sometimes soreness for you, poor milk removal, and poor baby weight gain. As always, I hope you find this information useful as you prepare to breastfeed your baby. My greatest wish for you is that you will be breastfeeding your baby in comfort and joy, that you have a good milk supply, that your baby is gaining well, and that once you get past the first few weeks or so, you enjoy the convenience of breastfeeding your baby every single day. I will leave you today with this quote. The benefits to the mother of immediate breastfeeding are innumerable, not the least of which, after the weariness of labor and birth, is the emotional gratification, the feeling of strength, composure, and a sense of fulfillment that comes with the handling and suckling of the baby. Ashley Montague. Don't forget to check in the show notes because I have a link to posters that list all of the ingredients in milk. I have a place where you can put in your name to get a checklist of how you can prepare for the first few weeks with a newborn. That's it for today's show. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Have you heard that Phoenix, Arizona is blessed with an amazing birthing center? Baby Moon Inn Birth Center is the best option for families who want access to midwifery care in and out of a hospital setting. You can experience birth in a comfortable home-like setting where natural birth is the focus. Laboring in water, being able to walk outside during labor, and enjoy the beautiful garden. This is what birth can be like for you. There is so much more to learn about Baby Moon. The staff would love to have the opportunity to meet you and would like to extend an invitation for you to attend a free Choices in Childbirth class and a tour of the birth center. All you need to do is call 602-314-7755. That's 602-314-7755 and ask for the tour dates. You can also go to allaboutbreastfeeding.biz/podcast. And on the right-hand side of the page, you will see a link that will bring you to the calendar and you can sign up for the tour yourself. When you come in for the tour, make sure that you tell them you found out about it from the All About Breastfeeding podcast, and you will be given a very lovely free gift.